Welcome to the fireside and the first episode of my 2000's archaeology series, where I'll be discussing Galidor, LEGO's failed multimedia franchise. Let's burn fire. Galidor, Defenders of the Outer Dimension was a TV series produced by the LEGO Group in order to sell a line of toys that premiered on Fox Kids in 2002. It also had a tie-in comic and 2 tie-in video games, which I'll get into later. Now, it's worth noting that Galidor was the last new series to premiere on Fox Kids before it was bought out by 4Kids, and it was also the first ever TV show to be based on a LEGO property. And it was such a massive failure that it was the last TV show to be based on a LEGO property until LEGO Ninjago came out in 2011. 9 years later. Seriously, this show failed so massively that not a single actor from this show ever acted again. But how could a franchise with such a massive backing from LEGO possibly fail this badly, you ask? Well, in this video, I'm gonna briefly go over the series and then I'll break down the reasons why I think it failed. But first, a word from our sponsor, Exter. I don't know about you guys, but regular billfold wallets keep breaking my bank's flimsy debit cards, forcing me to constantly replace them. That's where Exter comes in. Exter's Parliament wallets and Senate cardholders keep your cards stacked on top of each other and, by the touch of a button, they all neatly fan out. How cool is that? They also block RFID and have available tracker cards so you'll never lose your wallet again. So if you want in on the coolest wallet ever that won't break your cards, click the link down in the description. Alright, enough stalling, let's get on with the show. Our story begins when our hero Nick, Bluetooth, and his girlfriend Allegra find this interdimensional transporter egg, which is significantly bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, that brings them to the outer dimension. Once there, they learn they must complete the work of Nick's missing father to save the world of Galidor from the evil Darth Vader, Gorm. Joining them on the adventure are C-3PO,
No, what do you mean, no? It's the
Jens, Yoda,
So, where is our young warrior?
Euripides, and Nepal? It's also worth noting that Nepal's toy comes with this tauntaun thing that he rides that wasn't in the show, and Allegra's toy comes with this pet thing that wasn't in the show either. This'll be a reoccurring theme. In order to get to Galidor, the team must collect fragments of a key that come in these little boxes that look like they're part of those old 2000's Macs. And in order to fight off Gorm's forces, Nick has Generator Rex powers called Lynching, where he can turn his limbs into either the limbs of another alien he's encountered or useful machines. The other characters can also glitch by touching, and all of this parallels the toys, whose main gimmick is that their body parts are interchangeable. The show makes it out to be a big deal that Nick can glitch, and despite it being the main gimmick of the toys the show is trying to push, Nick rarely actually does it in the show. And when he does, it either barely affects the episode or it's used as a deus ex machina. Also, the show's Wikipedia page says that Gorm gained the ability to glitch thanks to a device in his chest, but that never happens in the show. Either way, the show lasted for 2 seasons with 26 episodes that was cancelled on a cliffhanger, with Nick and friends making it to Galidor and Nick's dad being captured by Gorm. Now, before I delve into why I think the franchise failed, let me go over the video games real quick. First game was a 2D platformer developed by Tiertex Design Studios for the Game Boy Advance, and every review I can find for it considers it one of the worst games on the system.
Even walking in this game is a pain because Nick has this little slide at the end of his walking animation, so you'd better be extra careful when coming to a stop near a ledge because otherwise you'll slide right off to your death.
The second game was a 3D RPG for Windows that was never even finished or officially released. It just came packaged with various budget LEGO game bundles. And apparently, PS2 and GameCube versions of this game were made, but never released, which says a lot about how badly this franchise flopped. Which brings me to the final part of this video where I'll go over why I think it flopped, and honestly, I have a couple of theories. My first and honestly most likely theory is bad toy sales. When a show is made with the intent to sell toys, nothing will get it cancelled faster than the toys not selling well, and boy did they not sell well. I remember seeing Galidor toys on the clearance shelf at the Fred Meyer's toy department for years after the show stopped airing. Plus you can still buy these toys for next to nothing on eBay, which leads me to believe these toys were grossly overproduced. This is particularly problematic considering the fact that at the time, Saturday morning kids shows tended to be made at a loss in hopes of making back the difference through toy sales. Which brings me to my second theory, this show looked expensive to make, especially for a Saturday morning kids show. All these props, costumes, scenery, and CGI could not have been cheap, especially when you consider they were being funded by toys that were not selling. There's a reason why live-action kids shows normally take place in normal, everyday environments. It's because TV shows, especially ones aimed at kids, don't have the budget for these kinds of visuals. But on to my third point, competition from other LEGO properties, mainly Bionicles. Galidor came out at a time when Bionicle was really starting to take off, and LEGO probably thought if one heavy story lore-based series could be successful, why not two? But here's the thing, Bionicles are cool, and Galidor isn't. I mean, honestly, look at these two toys side by side, and which one do you think looks more appealing to kids and LEGO enthusiasts? My bet is the Bionicle. But that brings me to my final point, the show is not good. Seriously, I binged this entire series on YouTube over the course of about 2.5 weeks, and it was a slog to get through. It's boring, derivative, cliche, the acting's terrible, and man is it ugly. I remember watching a few episodes of the show as a kid, and I found a lot of these aliens to be very unsettling, and I must say, they still are pretty unsettling. Especially the scene with these Tusken Raider guys trying to suck the moisture out of Nick. That's terrifying. Even this purple girl that's just a normal girl in purple face makeup looks really uncanny because she looks like her skin's made of rubber. But on a positive note, this show does have some kind of creative sci-fi concepts, and Allegra and Euripides have this kind of cute and kind of wholesome grandfather-granddaughter dynamic. But other than those things, yeah, the show's pretty bad. The late 90s and early 2000s were a very low point for LEGO, when basically the only thing keeping the company in business were Bionicles, while licensed sets based on the Harry Potter and Star Wars movies would bring in a big chunk of money on years when a movie came out, and failures like Galidor really did not help things. Fortunately, LEGO seems to have learned from their mistakes and are doing a lot better this decade, and Galidor has even been referenced in later LEGO properties, which suggests LEGO is not ashamed of their past, and I can definitely respect that. Also, Nick's actor Matt Ewald is apparently working on a new series, so congrats to him for getting his career back on track. So that's the story of Galidor, LEGO's failed multimedia franchise. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and if you're watching on Odyssey, boost. Also, don't forget to follow me on Mastodon. You guys fuel my fire.